We are going to get ready to go. Like I said, my name is Tiffany. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for our quick hit series. This is our second one of 3 of 2023. So if you haven't joined us for one of these before, these are designed to be about 20-30-minute webinars. They're going to give you just a quick rundown of anything that's timely in our recruiting and hiring area. And like I said, 3 webinars happening in this series. We're on the second one. And today we're going to spend some time going over how you can use Hireology to improve your hiring velocity so that you can fill your open roles with great talent faster, which we all want to do. So let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, my name is Tiffany. Who am I? I am a strategic customer success manager here at Hireology. I've been with Hireology for about coming up on a year now, and I work with some of our largest auto customers. And before starting at Hireology, I worked at Ford Motor Company for about 8 years. So I've got tons of experience in the auto sector. I love working with dealers. I know you guys are not all dealers today on with us, but regardless, happy to be here with you guys and ready to take you through some exciting stuff. So moving on to why are we here today? So before I really dig into Hireology and what we can kind of help you out with, I want to give just a little bit of a lay of the land with what we're working with right now in the industry that we're in. So we all know that talent supply is hard to come by these days. And at Hireology, we recently surveyed about 6,000 applicants that came through our system in all of our key verticals. And we found that the majority of our job seekers applied to 16 or more jobs in their job search process. And I'm going to let that sink in for a second because I find that to just be wild information, right? So 50% of these people applied to 16 different jobs or more. So what that means is every time you engage with somebody that's applied to your job, they have probably already talked to somewhere between 10 and 15 other companies as well. And when I think about that, I think that is just bananas because the reality is if I applied to 16 jobs, I have no idea who I applied to, right? It's click, 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 click. So the reality is we need to get to these people quickly because they may not remember where they applied, and the first people that reach back out to them could be the, just sort of that very quick response to applying to a job, right? The first people that reach back out, they end up going with them. So really interesting there. And on top of that, those people that we interviewed or surveyed on this, about 31% of them, so those top 2 bars right there, said that their entire job search took less than 2 weeks. So that's from initial application all the way until they got an offer. So what this tells us is that the top third of the people that are applying to our jobs are accepting offers within 2 weeks. So we have people applying to 16 jobs and then people getting accepted or accepting an offer within 2 weeks. So the only way to really truly differentiate yourself is to cut your time to hire so that you are within that 14 to 21 day range. Final little bit of information that I'll share with you before we get into the product is of those people that we surveyed, 43% of them who say that they have ghosted an employer, which means they just dropped out of the process without explanation. The vast majority of them said that it was because the hiring process took too long. So we've got people that are applying to a ton of jobs, moving through the process quickly. And if it's not moving quickly, they just give up. They don't want any part of it. So if you're taking even just a couple of days to respond to your applicants or your process is drawn out, you're likely missing some of the best of the best. And those people are moving on to your competitors without warning. And given the state of today's labor market and some of the trends we've been seeing, our top candidates don't have to wait around for you, which is sort of sad, but they don't. They just have a lot of other opportunities at their fingertips. So if we think of all of that data, the charts that we just went over, what is it really telling us? When it comes to filling your roles, speed really, really matters. So you need to be able to cut your hiring process down in order to remain competitive when it comes to capturing that top talent. So How does Hireology help with this? If you're familiar with how our platform is set up, and I think most of you guys are, we like to bucket our tools so that they're 3 categories: attract, hire, and manage. And what I'm going to focus on today is mostly that middle bucket, that hire bucket, where all of Hireology's tools for improving that time and speed aspect really come into play. More specifically, I am going to touch on 4 key features, which you can see up on the screen: pre-screen survey, SMS and mobile, interview scheduling, and insights and reporting. And again, these are all designed to help you improve on reducing that time to hire metric. So with that, let's get into our first topic, which is our pre-screen surveys. Pre-screen surveys, I think, sometimes are a really underutilized tool that we have at Hireology. We've had them for a long time, and sometimes we forget that they're even there because they are pretty automated. But our pre-screen survey tool allows you to send out a brief survey that is true/false once an applicant applies to your job. The purpose of your pre-screen survey is to quickly include or disclude/disqualify people that apply to your job, so that we can sort of do a quick weed out of people that are qualified before really digging into those applications, really digging into those resumes, because we want you to be able to focus on moving forward with the ones that are qualified. So we'll go into a little bit of an example of this in a second, but ideally what we're going to be seeing on Hireology is, like, somebody has passed your pre-screen survey if they have scored a 70% or greater on that survey. If they score below 70%, you can assume that they're just not qualified to fill this role. So hopefully seeing that will allow you to spend more time focusing on other people that have applied to the job, so that you can, use your time wisely. So we're going to look at a quick example here from inside Hireology. This is what you see when you are looking at a candidate and you would like to send them the pre-screen survey. You can send the survey manually by clicking send survey. And this is just a quick glance at what this looks like for your candidates. The next thing we're going to look at here is what that email looks like. Again, this is customizable when you send this out, but this is just a quick email that shows, hey, we got your application. We'd like you to fill out the survey. Very clear with your action required. We do need you to do something on here. And just a quick side note, these are not required. So people can get this email, delete it, file it away, or they can fill it out. The next thing on the survey, if we flip over to what the candidate sees, you can see a couple of true/false questions. So pre-screen surveys always set up in true/false format. And the second one on here, just as an example, I have experience working face-to-face with executives. So as I mentioned, this is for an office manager job. A porter, doesn't necessarily need to work face-to-face with executives, right? So let's make sure that the pre-screen surveys that we're sending out are applicable to the roles that we are hiring for. For an office manager, that's going to be something that's important. If you want somebody that has that experience and they answer that question false, we can, quote unquote, disqualify them from being somebody that we want to move forward with. So a couple other tips on pre-screen survey, just how you can maximize this in your processes. Number one, make it a step in your hiring process. When you open up a new job, add the pre-screen survey in there as a step so that it gets sent out to everybody that applies. And also use knockout questions for deal breakers. So this is going to mean it will automatically, quote unquote, disqualify people who did not meet that question. For example, I just used that executive example. Or another one that I like to think about is like a driver's license. Do you have a valid driver's license? If somebody answers no to that, you can automatically disqualify them. And quick note on that, that does not mean that we are deleting them from your Hireology. We do not ever delete applicants from your Hireology. It just means that you have a quick glance that they are not qualified. So you still are responsible for advancing or declining that person after they apply. Next, keep it to just essential questions only. We only want to include things that are going to show whether they're qualified. For example, that driver's license, executives, things like that, things about certifications, right? If they're fully certified, if they have experience with specific software that's required for them to know. We do not want to get too granular on these. We don't want to include things about personality or other things that are very specific to the role, because we want to save that for our interview. In addition, we want to make sure that, again, these are short. We don't want them to be more than 10 questions for the same thing. Like I just said, we really want people to fill them out. The more specific we get on these surveys and the longer they get, the less people are actually going to be filling them out. So if we're going to use this as an effective tool, we definitely want to make sure that they're short, concise, 10 questions or less, and they're not getting too specific with any of your questions. Finally, we want to make sure that we customize the subject on the email. So make sure that it is obvious that it's coming from you and that it stresses the importance of what it is that you need in the survey. You don't want people to think that it's spam or something like that and then just get lost in their unread emails. I had a quick question that I'll comment on real quick. So can I create my own pre-screen questions? Yes, you can. So all of your pre-screen surveys can be modified. It's in settings. Let's just check real quick. I believe that if you go to your name in the upper right-hand corner, and then if you click on, you say, hi, Tiffany, and then you can click on settings. And then if you, you'll open up a new screen here. You have to get into your hiring steps. Yeah, click hiring steps and then pre-screen surveys. So all of your pre-screen surveys are editable. And that's a good question because we want specific surveys like office manager, service only, management. So yes, you can edit all of those within your settings. Okay, so moving forward into our next topic, which is interview scheduling. And interview scheduling is one of my favorite tools. I mentioned that I came from Ford Motor Company, very kind of corporate there. I like things to be buttoned up and specific. So interview scheduling is one of those things that I feel like is like one of the most professional things that we can do from Hireology because it's templated, it's professional. We've got just a lot of nice tools within that scheduler that just help with your overall kind of, I guess, branding as a dealership when you're reaching out, or dealership or customer when reaching out to your applicants. But this is a relatively new feature for Hireology, and it allows you to sync your calendar or your hiring manager's calendars so that you can automatically populate your availability before scheduling with a candidate. What I hate about anything interview-wise is that going back and forth, it's like, hi, I'm available at 2 p.m. today. Are you? No, what about 3? And then that back and forth, like we don't need to do that, right? It's wasting time and it's taking away from other things that you can be doing, other candidates that you can be reviewing, any number of things. It's just tedious. It's not worth your time. So let's take a better look or a closer look at what this looks like in Hireology. So you can see here the scheduling interview step opens up when you click on either your phone screen or your Elements interview. So you can access your interviews from, or your interview scheduler from either one of those steps. And it's going to open up something that looks similar to this. You're going to be able to select phone or in person. You can select the duration, so 30, 60, 90 minutes, whatever from here, and you can select your interviewer. The interviewer piece is something that I'd like to comment on real quick. So if you have more than one person on your hiring team for a specific job, this dropdown will populate with anybody's name that's on the hiring team. So the reason that this is important, if I am the general manager at my store and I would like to hire a new service advisor, but I want the service manager to handle that interview, I can select this dropdown to the service manager's name as long as he's on the hiring team, and then schedule that interview sort of for that manager. The way that this can be really beneficial for you is if you get your calendar synced, and you can see that in this example, we've got the calendar sync right here. I'll go over in a second how to do that, but the benefit to having your calendar synced is that your calendar will be blocked out if you're not available. So if you look closely on here, you know, you've got 9, 10, and then you're blocked out here, right? It doesn't show 11, it doesn't show noon, but it shows the other times. So if you've got lunch scheduled every day at noon, or you've got another interview, whatever it is, it will automatically just block those. You won't even be able to pick them. So you will see your calendar available. You'll select the times that work for you. And then it will automatically pop up this interview request email template that you can customize further if you want, or you can send as is. And what this does is it opens up, or there's a link within this email. Your candidate will be able to click the link and then select the time that works best for them. The reason I love this is because, like I mentioned earlier, it takes away that whole like, are you available at 2? No, it doesn't work, back and forth like that. and your candidate gets your availability 2, 3, or 5 p.m. tomorrow, and they can choose the time that works best for them. Once they select that time, they will get a notification to add to their calendar, and your calendar will be blocked as well, as long as you've got that calendar sync turned on. So real quick on calendar sync, to turn on calendar sync, again, you can go to your name in the upper right-hand corner, click on settings, and then you'll see it right on there. It says calendar sync. You just have to click in there and you can sync up your Google Calendar, Outlook, or whatever calendar it is that you'd like to do. So just a couple of things on just maximizing value for Interview Scheduler. I know I covered a lot there. There's a lot of details in it, but like I said, I think it's just an awesome tool for you guys to get used to using. But number one, start by syncing your calendar. So sync your calendar, sync your hiring manager's calendar. This is crucial to make sure that you can automate that scheduling as much as possible and that your open time slots are accurate. And then it puts the onus back on your candidates, right? It's not on you anymore. Everything's in there. Your availability looks good, and we can kind of move forward from there. And we know that many of you text or call your candidate before setting something up. Remind them that you are going to be sending this calendar as an email and that it will come from capture.hireology.com. We don't want that to get lost. It's not going to come from your normal Hireology login page. So just remind them that it's going to come from that other email. Also, I mentioned you have your availability on there, but also try to provide a couple of different time slots. Don't just give them Tuesday at 1, 2, or 3, right? If Tuesday doesn't work, then they run out of options, right? So give Tuesday at 1 or 2, Wednesday at 3. Give at least 3 options when scheduling as best you can, and try and give different days and different times of day so that you can help people that have childcare, dog care, have their other job, whatever the variety of issues there, try and accommodate that as much as possible. And finally, if you choose to customize that email, make sure that you make it clear, right? We don't want to include too much in that email. We want it to be actionable. We want people to know what to do from there. So make sure that you're not writing anything lengthy. Make sure that that subject line is clear so that people know exactly what they need to be scheduling. And I got a question in the chat, different time zones. I am Central, and sometimes it schedules with those in Eastern. So different time zones are a good question. So to change, I would, number one, recommend that make sure that when you're in settings that your time zone is accurate. Off the top of my head, I can't remember where to click from there. I believe it's in settings. Make sure that time zone is accurate. But if your candidate is in the same time zone as you, then you shouldn't run into that problem as long as your time zone is up to date. Obviously, if they're in a different time zone, off the top of my head, I don't know exactly how that works, but there is a way for you to customize your time zone within Hireology. If you need further information about that, feel free to put your email in the chat and I can reach out to you to troubleshoot that if that did not answer your question. Okay. Moving on to SMS. So another tool that I think is awesome. I love the calendar scheduler. Also love SMS. I think this is great. So SMS is a feature that allows you to text directly with your candidates directly from the platform. So the benefits are endless here. There's too much that we could really go over today, in my opinion, but we know that candidates move fast when they're looking for work, and texting them rather than email or calling them can make all the difference when you're trying to beat out competition. On average, people don't read their emails for about 90 minutes or never, I always say, because it's sort of like, I know when I'm going through my email, I'm like, select. Sometimes I delete stuff that I'm not supposed to, right? And that's an accident. That's just the reality of email. It gets complex and sometimes that stuff gets missed. So on my phone, though, you look at your phone, you see your text, you can ignore it or you respond to it. So people are on average are answering text messages within 90 seconds of getting that text. So 90 minutes or never, or 90 seconds. I think it's kind of clear there what works best. The nice thing about texting or emailing from Hireology, all of your messages are in one place, regardless of whether it's text or email. So you don't have to go searching around for that at all. The other thing I want to comment on is phone calls. I try and encourage my customers to get away from phone calls as much as possible. I know, like myself personally, if I get a phone call from a number I've never seen before, I ignore it right away. don't even try and think about it. So start with the text, start with that email. And if all else fails, like you can try that phone call, but let's start with that quick communication first, just to get that conversation started. The other thing that I like about text real quick before we move forward, the text can also be done on your mobile app. So you can do it on your desktop, or you can also do it on your mobile app, which is really nice. You don't have to wait for people to get back to their computers or anything like that. So flipping over into an example of how this looks in Hireology, it's very easy to do. You can start with a free form template. You can see here, this is just blank, and you can type up whatever message you need. So obviously free form, don't make it too long, kind of like the last couple of things we said. If it's too long, people aren't going to read it, ignore it, whatever the case is there. But the next thing you can do is you can experiment with these dynamic fields. And the dynamic fields are, there's 13 of them, I think, that are available to you. But you can see right here, you've got candidate full name, sender full name, email, etc. And this is a great way for you to autofill your texts with this information. So when you have your text message, you can put in the dynamic field candidate full name, and then it will automatically fill the name of that person that you're reaching out to. So you don't even have to go back to Hireology and look at anything like that. You can also use those dynamic fields when you start to use templates, and templates are so useful when trying to move quickly. Some of you will probably already have templates loaded into your Hireology, but they can be things like interview confirmations, or you can do setting up a phone screen. There's a variety of templates that you can have set up, but you can also create your own template. It's very easy. It's just clicking this green button, create your own template. What I love to instruct my customers to do is, if you find yourself writing the same thing over and over again, hi, this is Tiffany from Hireology. I recently received your resume. That's not going to take too long, but in the grand scheme of things, if you're reaching out to a ton of people a day, writing, hi, this is Tiffany from Hireology, like over and over and over again, it gets kind of tedious, right? So you can use a template to type up exactly that, and then you can customize it from there. So you need to select your Tiffany's template, and then you can say, do you have time for blah, 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 whatever the case is there. You can get creative at that point, but use that template so that it saves you time. Again, it's just a couple words, but in the grand scheme of your day, it'll probably save you, a couple of minutes, however long it is, and it's just convenient. Looking over to the next example that we have up here, after you customize that text, you're ready to send it. And what I love about this also is that you don't have to use your personal phone. I know we're all really comfortable and just picking up our phone, texting right from there. But the reality is, like, I don't want people that I'm interviewing to have my personal phone number. I don't really want a phone call at night. I just, you don't even know that you're going to hire them yet. The more we can keep inside Hireology, the more we can keep sort of our personal life out of there. And we can keep everything sort of in one place. The other reason that I really like using text or email within Hireology is because if, for example, you are talking with, a potential service advisor, but I'm about to go on vacation. So my general manager needs to take over for me. He or she can pop into Hireology, look in the history of your candidate, and he or she can pick up that conversation right where you left off. So even if you go out on vacation, somebody else is filling in for you, everything's in there. It doesn't get deleted, which I think is great. And it's also less confusion for the applicants in the grand scheme of things too. And our whole goal here, like I've mentioned a couple of times, is just save you time. So even if it's just a couple minutes, saving time here is what we want to go with. So summarizing SMS, dynamic fields, I mentioned a couple of times. This enables you to add unique details and personalized messages without having to remember or look back on certain information every time you send a text. So create your template, use your dynamic field, and then insert the rest of your message whenever you're ready. Again, saving you time there. Templates are also a great way for you to move faster. It's a good starting point for what you're going to send, and you can always customize it from there. And like I've said on the last two topics already, shorter communication generally will yield a faster response time. So don't write a novel in your text message. Make it short, make it concise, and finally, make it clear that you're looking for a response. So the less back and forth that you have with this person, the more quickly you're going to move through that process. All right, so last thing about that candidate communication is the Hireology Mobile App. So just kind of bucket it into SMS because it serves some of the same benefits. You can also SMS directly from the mobile app, which is nice. So you have the ability to evaluate applicants, manage your candidates, and then move people to either hired, declined, or candidates all within the app, which is just great. A lot of you, like I said, work in auto. So if you're a service manager and you're like out in the technician bays, you don't have time to be on your computer. I don't have time for this. We're all very busy, right? You can use the app and you can take that right to the bay with you. You get a push notification on your phone every time somebody applies, or you get a text or an email. So you can read that all directly from your phone. Feedback that I've gotten from my customers before is that the app needs to be updated. Well, the app has been updated. So if you have the app or you used it a long time ago, I would encourage you to get in there, do the update and log back in, because there's so much changes that we've made to this app that really make it a useful tool for you and your hiring managers. And I will flip over to this. I'm going to pause on this real quick in case anybody wants to take this QR code because it will help you download the app using this QR code, available for Apple only. It's also just the Hireology app if you want to type that into your app store, and then you can log in directly with your credentials. Okay, and final thing we're going to go through today is insights and reporting. So I'm going to speed through this because we're running low on time, but insights and reporting is our built-in analytics feature, which gives you insight into the effectiveness of your hiring process. So this looks at hiring velocity, process adherence, and even some of your ROI for different sourcing methods. And you can see here, there's a lot on this chart, but you can see here, it shows you specifically for your different locations, exactly how many days it's taken you to review, how many days it's taken you to hire, and it will show you, there's a couple different ways you can look at this. Right now we're looking at by location. You can also look at this by hiring manager. So is there one manager that's holding us back? Is there one manager that's doing an awesome job? You can use insights to really get a feel for how everything is working, and you can compare yourself to your industry averages. So industry average here, that's going to be for the vertical that you're a part of, and you can set yourself goals here too to just keep you and your team accountable for everything. And just final couple of tidbits on insights and reporting. So a good way for you to understand how long it's taking you to review applicants, to hire applicants and candidates. And just it really helps you to understand where there are bottlenecks in your process so that you can use the tools to adjust your process and then coach where needed. So you can use some of those charts to say like, hey, my awaiting interview time is way too long. Why are we not using interview scheduling, for example? And then you can take, a look back at your usage of the tools, figure out how you can improve and kind of go from there. And then finally, like I mentioned, you can set those goals for yourself. So we recommend aiming for between that 14 and 21 days time to hire and less than 2 days time to review. Again, our whole goal here, move quickly so that you can get people through the process more quickly. And finally, just like a couple of little tidbits here. Overall outcomes from adjusting some of these processes, we can see on average our customers reduce their time to fill by 6 days when using the pre-screen survey, which is a ton, right? That's just quickly including or discluding people. And those that use the interview scheduler see a time to fill that's 2 days faster than those who don't. That makes a lot of sense to me too. And on average, our customers reduce time to fill by 4 days when using text. Again, thinking about that 90 minutes or never compared to that 90 seconds to review, it just makes so much sense. So individually, these things seem small, but collectively, making a couple of small changes in these processes can really save you several days when you use the tools within Hireology. And as I mentioned at the beginning, candidates are applying to 16-ish jobs every time they're applying. So they want to accept the first thing that comes their way. So shaving off a couple of days in that process is really going to help you stand out among your competitors. So with that, it's 1:30. If anybody has 1:30 Central, if anybody has questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. I'll stay on here for another couple of minutes and I can help answer anything. And if not, thank you guys for joining today. And I hope this helps in some ways. So have a great rest of your Wednesday. Again, feel free to use that chat if you have questions, and I'll hang out here for a couple more minutes. Veronica asked for the last screen. So flip back to those outcomes. Let me know if that's not the same one. And also, Veronica, I see your question or your comment here on the time zone. I believe that to be true as well. With the time zone changing, it should match up properly from your calendar to the applicant's calendar. But again, I would have to get exact details on that from our team. But I believe you're right. Your calendar will show your time zone versus the applicant's calendar will show their time zone. And you're welcome to both of you guys. Happy to help. And then obviously keep an eye on your emails too for when the next one is coming out. Like I said, this is series 2 of 3. So there'll be one more coming up here shortly. All right, it doesn't look like we have any questions, so I am going to close out here. Thank you guys for your day, for your time, and we'll see you next time.